2013 was a busy year for us playing hack and slash games. Back then, we got DMC Devil May Cry, God of War Ascension, Marlo Briggs, Killer is Dead, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, Ninja Gaiden Razor's Edge, and the game we're looking at today, Deadpool. I remember playing it back when it came out, and I liked it quite a bit. It's been about 10 years since then, so a bit excited to come back to it and play it again. But first, this is Combat Overview. In this series, I go over the general controls to the game's main mechanic or mechanics, who or what we use those tools on, and then seeing how it all comes together. Alright, so X will do our light attacks that'll end with it looping into itself. Y is a heavy attack and they'll do some good crowd control. We don't have multiple enders linking those attacks together, but instead we just have a single chain attack going between the two. So light into heavy would do this forward stab, and then you go into your base heavy combo from there. Or heavy attack into our lights would do a launcher. Very simple, especially with our combos because we only have two to choose from. You're either going to do light, heavy into light, which will lead into another launcher. Heavy into light, back into heavy, we'll do a cartwheel that'll send enemies flying and stunning them, which is something I'll come back to a bit later. But to add some variety, we have these dash attacks. As you run forward, attack with either the light or heavy, and you'll do a different attack that'll help you get in close. I would have been happy with just these katanas, but we actually have 3 more weapons to choose from. So the dual katanas are the well-rounded pick, good range, speed, and damage. But our other options are size. Short range, but real fast. Might not stack a lot of damage, but instead inflicts a bleed debuff, having him lose health over time. And sledgehammers. Really slow, but big damage. And we actually give enemies a slow debuff. So not only do both weapons have their pros and cons and exceed in their own way, but also have these little extras to them too. I guess the simple combos don't seem as bad now because we got 3 weapons to change things up with. And since they're easy to remember, it just comes down to figuring out how each weapon's little combo affects enemies. But it's not just melee weapons we get to use, we also have guns. Aim with the left trigger and fire with the right trigger. Got a mix of pistols, Uzis, shotguns and all, and again they're all good for certain ranges. But there's actually a neat mechanic to them, so after any attack, dodge or counter, if you tap the fire button, you'll do something called gun kata. It's a way to extend our combos and lead into some juggles. It's also good to crowd control, since we can aim where we're facing and can interrupt their attacks. Pretty interesting and can lead to some pretty cool plays at times. Now when it comes to our defenses, pressing B will do this teleport. It'll go a set distance, but you're completely invulnerable during it. We'll even cancel out our attack so we can go into it on reaction. But when an enemy is about to attack us, an icon will pop up above them, press B and you'll do a counter. It'll floor and stun them. It also pops them up so you can jump after that to do a little air combo, or you can just use the base attacks to catch them before they fall too. But that's not our only follow-ups after a counter because if you press Y, you'll kick them away to help clear the area. If you have a gun out while you counter, you'll counter with your gun. So all 3 of our melee weapons have their own counters, but so does every one of our guns too. Alright, so now onto our HUD. This is our health, and since one of Deadpool's abilities is to rejuvenate, our health will recover over some time. Just don't get hit for a bit and it'll start to refill. We also get to see what weapon or gun we got equipped. We can swap between whichever one we want on the fly with the D-pad. Got some throwables too, mix of grenades that we can cook before we toss them. Bear traps that are super good to stop larger enemies, leaving them open for easy damage or to focus on the crowd around them. If you ever play factions, when you toss a smoke bomb, it'll stun people and block their sight. So it's super good to set up a team rush or even an instant takedown. Well, we got something like that too. So if you toss a flashbang, you can use that to rush or reposition, but most importantly sets up these finishers. So to circle back around, combos might be simple, but they have their uses. One leads into a launcher to set up combos, or another one to set up a stun, which is a way to crowd control or set up a takedown. Plus the counters stun too, so I think you can see things line up with the stuns and all. Alright, so now all of this runs on finite ammo, but enemies will drop everything you need, so just swap between all your tools and you'll be good. Now all these meters on the side are our specials called momentum. To fill it up, just line hits and stay on there aggressive. Getting counters especially will fill it up the most. But yeah, try not to slow down because you'll lose their progress, having them drain back down to 0. Because, well, you lost your momentum. Makes sense. Once that bar is full, it stays full until you want to use it. Now all 3 weapons share these meters between each other, and they have their own little versions of it. Might seem a lot, but honestly they follow the same uses. So left bumper and A will do this crowd control 360 swipe around you. X is always a charge super that you get to aim. And Y is always a mashing super that you can keep it going as long as you want and can control where you go while you do that. Now left bumper and B is kinda interesting because even our guns have a super for themselves. Same thing is shared between them all, and usually with crowd control. And the last thing here are these Deadpool points. They work like red orbs in DMC. Get high combos and those stylish kills, mixing headshots and kills with momentum supers, since they give out the highest reward. With all these points, we get to spend it on buying more guns and those other melee weapons, or passives like more health, build meter faster, carry more ammo, and so on. Now when it comes to our weapons, they work on a proficiency leveling up system like Borderlands 1 or Neo. The more you use that specific weapon, the better they'll be. And doing that will open up more upgrades to buy from. Stuff like higher base damage, more red orbs rewarded for comboing with them, and those momentum specials. Now the enemies we'll see are these jobbers who rush you down or who sit behind cover to shoot at you. Also got these baton guys who do set up easy counters, but they do block our attacks. But to open them up, just do that link attack. There's even enemies who will buff the nearby group with more defense or more damage. And these heavy tanker guys, up close will hit hard with their swipes, but if you decide not to approach at all, then they'll slam the ground to send a wave to try to hit you. And that's Deadpool. Now I know me saying all this cool stuff from the set of enemy types we have, the mix of throwables to deal with multiple situations, built-in mechanic for gun combo extenders, counters and their follow-ups, and the fact we even have a mode to fight waves of enemies in these combat arenas. All of this might make it seem like it's a pretty layered action game, combining funny mechanics from both the hack and slash and shooter genre, but honestly, they're not refined as I like it to be. Hit detection on our attacks feel off. As cool as the gun kata idea is, it seems to miss half the time or it doesn't really juggle them like we've been used to since DMC 1. You can do hot swaps with your weapons and guns to get their specific attacks, but you really gotta nudge the game into doing some stylish plays. It was still pretty hype just to discover it has any of this at all. Yeah, it's not the sharpest hack and slash game, but it's working with a cool set of tools. Maybe one day a team can come by to build off this, maybe add some flashy attacks from MVC3 or Ultima Alliance 3, but damn, this game is still awesome. Not only is it because Deadpool himself is a character, but because the whole package is. Because not only does it have cool ideas for the combat, but it also gets creative with just the fact it's a game. It's not a movie trying to bog down your game time with unskippable cutscenes, but they actually use the medium of games to have fun with it. The example you hear a lot is the free achievements and trophies as soon as you press your first button, or when you slap Wolverine around just because you could. But one of my favorite moments when they do something like this is when you crash and your head gets turned around. But since your head's backwards, you find out your camera's inverted too, to match it up. Or when you play as Rogue, who becomes this Lady Deadpool, she actually has a different combos and a different dodge, just a little altered move list compared to Deadpool's. They really didn't need to do this much, but I appreciate the little details for these one-off segments. Like they use the factors to games to get creative and interact with you, the player, in a unique way. Gameplay might be a little iffy, but I can tell there was thought put behind every aspect to make things interesting from start to finish. Can at least give them props for that. And that's why I would recommend checking it out just for its personality alone. Yeah, these days though, it's trying to go back to play these licensed games is a bit of a hoop because they're either locked to these older consoles or if they're even lucky enough to be brought back, they're pretty much instantly delisted again. But if you have a PS3 or a 360 lying around, I say definitely give it a shot. Because at least it's trying to have fun and plays around with the idea it's a game.